for joining us here on Arc Salt Lake. I'm Brian Schnee. Tuesday, September 2nd. Tonight, Salt Lake City residents wondering, did a police officer need to shoot a dog last week? Before we do, though, a live scene in West Jordan. There's an active shelter in place. I want to show it to you now. So West Jordan police have ordered a shelter in place for the neighborhood near 19th West and 7300 South. Taking a live look, courtesy of one of our photographers who's out there right now. Tim is behind the lens, giving us this view. They're asking people who live within 3 blocks of this location to remain inside until the all clear is given. And here is a live look at officers from responding agencies. Actually, if you look a little closer there, you can see they're operating a drone. They have officers from various departments there in tactical gear. We just saw one of the canines come out. There's members of local SWAT. Right now, they're working to negotiate with somebody who's inside. But West Jordan police said that someone in this home was armed and possibly threatening others in that home. Police believe they have everyone but the suspect out of that house. They're negotiating with the young adult male, no age given, but there was a range of, 18 to 30, that range. So while the shelter in place remains, police say there's not a danger to the neighborhood. Police say they will negotiate with the suspect as long as they believe it will be successful. But they won't let this go on forever. But at this point, they want to make sure the situation is safe. And this is a developing situation. To stay up to date on the very latest, again, you can see we have a crew out there to bring you that information. But you should find the latest information on our website, KUTV.com. But again, this is a live look from West Jordan tonight, where there's a shelter in place for a neighborhood there. This incident, we are told, is contained to that neighborhood. There is no one out and about that they are concerned about at this point.
The only danger that was going on in that area was from the officer pulling a weapon and firing it.
Well, some strong opinions following an incident near 1700 South and Main Street here in Salt Lake. And that was Julie Ingham. She shared some footage from her doorbell camera where a Salt Lake City police officer fires his weapon at a dog. Warning, this could be very difficult to watch. We did ask Salt Lake police what happened here, and they say on Thursday the officer in the video was on a pedestrian stop. And here's a moment very further away. You can see the officer fires upon that dog, and the man over here that chases the dog down and puts his hands up in the air. We believe that the dog actually charged at the officer from the information we gathered, off leash, so the officer shot the dog. Julie says the video she captured tells a different story. She says the dog was so small, it didn't appear to her that the dog could do any real damage. So she believes the officer should have found another way to handle the animal. Take a listen.
What the camera caught was my daughter walking into the house with our dogs, and a couple of seconds later, an officer pulling up kind of hot and running out of his vehicle, and the dog kind of reacting to that and breaking free with his leash on, and the owner of the dog chasing after the dog, trying to catch the dog, and the officer just pulled his gun out and started shooting. So none of it made sense to me. I felt like there should be some kind of an investigation into what really happened there. I don't feel like that was fair in any way, shape, or form to the dog owner or to the dog or to anyone around who witnessed that. There were kids in the video prior. My next door neighbor's kids were just walking down the street, and they're at maybe 13 years old. I don't feel like it's safe for someone to just pull a gun out and start shooting at a dog or at anybody.
Yeah, as a small dog owner, that's a tough situation. Just from my own personal situation, the dog will probably go up towards somebody but doesn't really have much of a threat. But Julie says since it was rush hour with lots of people walking outside, she feels it was a very dangerous time for an officer to draw their weapon. According to Julie, police have broken up groups loitering in the area, but it's never that intense. Salt Lake City Police says this shooting does not match the state code to make this an officer involved incident protocol sort of situation, so an OICI. So they'll be handling the investigation internally to understand what would qualify. We spoke with former Salt Lake County Sheriff Jim Winder with extensive training on how police are supposed to interact with dogs. He shares with us how this case might not be as clear as we think.
The bottom line is officers, when they fear for their safety or that of another, and they fear that that safety could be very impactful, death or serious bodily injury, they're authorized to make immediate and sometimes very difficult decisions about when to use their deadly force. So it's never cut and dry, and especially when it comes to animals. Dogs are always a dynamic situation because number one, they spur emotions within the community, but also, one tries to not place themselves in a situation that would require that kind of deadly force. The ring video is difficult to identify scale, and I'm not trying to say that this dog is a Great Dane by any stretch of the imagination, but that dog, Staffordshire Terriers or other moderate-sized breed dogs can definitely punch above their weight. A dog pursuing you, especially in a dynamic situation, it's difficult to make determinations about size and movement and other things. What you hear is barking and a flash of fur coming towards you. I can't make a determination from the video that I've seen as to the breed. I can't make a determination in terms of its weight, what its expression, which all of these factors need to be taken into consideration. But I think people should put themselves in the position of this officer. Or let's say you're walking, down a public pathway with your grandchildren or your child, and suddenly a dog, bolts from the brush and starts towards you. Just think about what kind of perception you have at that moment. You're acting literally in split seconds, and in your mind, if it is a threat, it's a threat. If you find out later, and I don't mean to be facetious, but the dog was, of a different breed or a variety of other circumstances, the fact is, at the time the dog was pursuing, you had to make some split-second decisions. So I think people should really kind of put away this idea that moderate-sized dogs cannot manifest any threat. That is just not accurate.
Well, it's a good point, and it'd be interesting to see if a body-worn camera would paint a better picture from close range. Just saying. Former Salt Lake County Sheriff Winder, not investigating this case, but noted many important factors that a casual viewer may miss due to the emotions around harming any animal, even what I just mentioned, especially what was probably a pet. No matter the size, the action of killing a dog will draw emotion and criticism no matter what. But the investigators will have to put those feelings aside and look at the situation through a more balanced lens.
Was there something else that could be done? The answer is, of course there was. But in this instance, that officer, given the totality of circumstances that no one right now, except for the officer and those that are specifically investigating it, arrived on a scene with a particular mindset, and that dog came out. So I think the broader question is it completely irresponsible or unjustified? Let's use the term. Is what that officer did on its face value not supportable? And the answer is no, it is supportable.
Well, you may remember back in March, this was body-worn camera that shows a picture here. And this was very tough to watch as well because the dog breaks free a number of times. We got to see in long clips how this played out and the reason those officers felt like they needed to shoot the weapon. So the body cam video from the officers receiving this call from an employee at a 7-Eleven on North Temple about some trespassers. This was after a dog became aggressive and bit an officer. Now, during the investigation, the dog ultimately got free and ran towards an officer. So 2 officers had their weapons drawn. At least 4 shots were fired at the dog. The animal was turned over to Salt Lake County Animal Services, was later euthanized. But that dog you see there in the early portion, that dog broke free, not once, I think it was 2 or 3 times. So a lot of the responsibility here, the dog in the other situation we talked about was unleashed, leashing your dog and taking responsibility. All of this coming into play. Happening now, a university rivalry turning into a blood battle. Behind me, we were hoping to have a live look from the Taggart Student Center, where just hours ago, students at Utah State University started giving blood for the annual blood drive competition between the Aggies and the Weber State Wildcats.
This is our 22nd year of doing the blood battle between Utah State and Weber State. Utah State is a great supporter of the American Red Cross and our blood donations. And so I'm happy to say that Utah State comes out ahead typically, but never say never. Weber State could always come back. So we need people. Come on, Utah students, Utah State students, we need to beat Weber State. I actually went to Weber State, but I am pulling for Utah State to win this week.
Well, how about you all do it? That's the purpose. Members from the Red Cross, they'll be inside the Taggart Student Center all week long at Utah State. They hope to get at least 400 units of blood donated. You do not need to be a student to take part in this blood drive. Weber State's portion of the blood battle begins next week. Kimberly says the center does allow walk-ins when time allows, but it would be best to make a designated sort of appointment. So to schedule your appointment, go to redcrossblood.org and enter your zip code or the sponsor code for Utah State, which is all caps, one word, bleed blue. Coming up here in Arc Salt Lake, execution costs are not tallied until after the fact. So how much is capital punishment costing our state? The Utah Supreme Court has stopped the execution of Ralph Menzies, ordering a mental health reevaluation before he could be put to death. Now, Menzies has been on death row for nearly 40 years, and his case is shining a spotlight on the costs of capital punishment for Utah taxpayers. Ariel Harrison at the Department of Corrections with the story and the numbers.
Ralph Menzies was set to die by firing squad in just over 2 days. That execution is called off for now, as the state's highest court orders a re-examination of his mental competency.
Last year, the total cost was somewhere around $290,000.
Glenn Mills with the Department of Corrections says the delay means the state hasn't spent extra money, saying most of the prep work happened during regular working hours. This document, though, shows the breakdown of the Tabarone lethal injection execution costs from last August, the bulk of that tied up in the medical services and supplies. A vast difference from firing squad.
$200,000 of that was wrapped up in the cost of the drug for the execution. So we can confidently say that this time around, it will be significantly less expensive than what we saw last year.
Former Governor Gary Herbert says while executions can cost hundreds of thousands, the real expense to the more than 1.4 million taxpayers in Utah comes from the decades of appeals.
The last time I checked, it was like $17,000 a year to house an inmate. But capital punishment, because of all the appeals and the court time and the delays, it becomes a very expensive proposition.
Menzies was convicted in 1988 for the murder of Maureen Hunsaker. 39 years later, Herbert calls that wait for justice unfair.
That's a long time. I don't know that it's fair for anybody, for the criminal or for those impacted by his criminal actions.
The former governor oversaw the state's last firing squad execution in 2010. He argues Utah's capital punishment system is broken and stresses the mental and emotional cost is just as heavy.
The anxiety, the waiting, is it going to happen, not going to happen? I think it's just a bad policy.
Who, in your opinion, would need to quarterback that effort or that question, that issue?
It shouldn't last 30 or 40 years to have justice rendered. Until we get that right, it makes it hard to stand tall about capital punishment.
Now, Governor Herbert suggested that 5 years should be plenty of time for a thorough evaluation of a capital case, and argues that if the timeline isn't addressed, Utah should consider not having capital punishment at all. Reporting from the Department of Corrections, Ariel Harrison, KUTV 2 News.
Last year, the Utah Department of Corrections executed Tabarone Honey. Now, here's a breakdown of those costs. In total, the state spent nearly $290,000, and more than $260,000 were actually spent on medical services and supplies. More than $10,000 spent on personnel and overtime. It's costly. More than $16,000 on event expenses. Honey was sentenced to death by lethal injection, different case here, for the 1998 murders of his ex-girlfriend's mother, Claudia Ben. Let's take a 180 here and take it outside, shall we? Some Drone 2 video. Big Cottonwood Canyon, where some of the leaves are starting to show their colors. Pretty cool to see this. We can see some orange mixed in with the green trees. I actually did the thing when I was looking out the plane this morning. I flew in very early today and I was up towards Logan Canyon, Manaway. You can see some of those colors starting to pop. These look really good. Tony, photographer, did a great job here. Northern Utah peak colors really start in late September and they run until mid-October. Now we need the moisture, we need a little rain. It kind of helps it along there and helps extend the life of the foliage. Meteorologist Chase Thomason here with our first alert forecast.
Another hot day. Doesn't really feel like the first week of September with temperatures well above average. We made it to 94 degrees in Salt Lake City. Lots of sunshine today. That is 7 degrees above normal. Still far from the record, though, back in 2022, where we made it to 100 degrees. Now, a little bit of relief when it comes to the heat coming our way later this week, and especially by the weekend, as monsoon moisture will be increasing. And there's a lot of things going on this weekend, including the Greek Festival. Some great food here in downtown Salt Lake City. 88 on Friday with a 20% chance of a thunderstorm. Probably our best chance for rain will be on Saturday, so if you're going to be out and about, grab an umbrella. I wouldn't cancel any outdoor plans right now. Looks like scattered showers and thunderstorms, and a few more are possible on Sunday, but definitely cooler into the low 80s. The reason is this monsoon moisture right now, it's hanging out to our south. Some very heavy rainfall in Arizona that could be pushing into the Vegas area by tonight. That is all going around an area of high pressure. You get this clockwise rotation, and as this high drifts to the south and east, our winds will change direction. They'll be more out of the south, and eventually some of that moisture will be streaming in. So in the meantime, we stay quiet for tonight and into tomorrow. A little bit of cloud cover for your morning commute, but by the afternoon in southwestern Utah, mainly over the mountains, some isolated thunderstorms will be bubbling up during the afternoon. By the evening at 6 o'clock, maybe some of those storms getting closer to St. George and Cedar City before they fall apart by about 9 or 10 o'clock. A little bit more moisture to work with, though, on Thursday, so we might see a better chance for rain across those areas. Tonight in St. George, 74 degrees. We'll be into the 50s and 60s across central and northern Utah. Tomorrow, highs still pretty hot in the low 90s for the Wasatch Front. Not as hot, though, across portions of southwestern Utah, where we'll have the cloud cover and maybe a little bit of rain. 94 in St. George, 86 in Cedar City. Northeastern Utah staying warm and dry with highs in the upper 80s. So as that high drifts over the Four Corners, by Thursday, better chance for those scattered thunderstorms. A few more spreading into central Utah this time. By Friday, northern and eastern Utah will start to see a few of those spotty storms, but still towards the southwest, that's the best chance for rain. And then by Saturday, that moisture spreads into northern Utah. Some scattered thunderstorms are possible. Again, best chance in the afternoon and evening. And then by Sunday, drier air moves into southwestern Utah, but we still can't rule out maybe a storm or two across the north and northeast. Of course, you got to stay out of those slot canyons. They're going to be dangerous. There is a flash flood potential by tomorrow and on Thursday across portions of Grand Staircase, Escalante, Bryce Canyon, and Zion National Park. If you're at Arches or Canyonlands, it's not expected Wednesday or Thursday, but could be increasing, at least that potential, by Friday. St. George, mid to low 90s, so little relief coming. We've had some triple-digit days, not in the forecast for the rest of the week. Their coolest day will be Saturday at 88, drier by Sunday. Next week, mostly sunny skies with temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. Salt Lake, we're in the 90s for just 2 more days. Those overnight lows, though, at least we're in the 60s. 88 on Friday, low 80s over the weekend. Then that drier air for next week means more sunshine and temperatures not too hot and staying in the mid 80s.
Right. Before we leave you tonight, taking a look at what's trending. Father-son outing where the pair saved a life. Caught on camera Sunday, Orange County, New York. I don't know where Orange County is, and I was just over there. Oh, West Point. Okay, so a West Point cadet and his father rescued a man from a burning car. They pulled the man out of the car, covered in debris from down power lines and trees. The car bursts into flame as the power line sparks. The man who was rescued expected to survive. We love to see those stories. We are back tomorrow night at 7.